You must make a commitment to put out effort to build your company within a company and to pay the necessary price, to do the things that most people are not willing to do. You got to be all in. You got to put all the chips in and say, you know what? This is where I'm staying. This is what I'm doing. I'm going to make my mark. The next 5 years are going to be great. And this is the company I'm going to do it with. Can you make that commitment? Yes or no?
All right. Well, ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, we're going to get our co-founder and president of ACN, none other than Mr. Greg Provenzano.
Well, good morning, everyone. I see a lot of familiar faces on the screen. It's always a pleasure to be with you. I'm excited to be with you on this call, and I'm even more excited to be personally with you in 12 days in Orlando, which is what I primarily want to talk to you about today. But when I do a call like this, Al, quite frankly, I almost feel like I'm preaching to the choir with all these people. Because I truly believe that the majority of them, if not all of them, have already been to an Elevate event. They know what the purpose is. They know they've experienced it firsthand. They know what it feels like because they've come to know and love the environment that we created over the last 30 years. And virtually nothing has changed over the last 30 years other than the fact that we have a great reputation today that we didn't have 30 years ago because we were just starting out. We have a history today that we didn't have 30 years ago. We got a track record of success. We got thousands upon thousands of people that are doing really well with the ACN opportunity. And it's simply because of a number of things that I believe that maybe some people, maybe even some people on this line here today, Al, that maybe you take things for granted that this is the way that it is everywhere that you participate in. And I'm telling you, it's not the case. And it's not easy for me, being one of the co-founders, to talk like this because you would expect me to say these things. But I'm going to tell you the fact of the matter is this. I know a great percentage of the CEOs of many direct selling companies. We all network together. We have conversations together. And primarily, for the most part, they're all really good people. But I really can tell you this in my heart of hearts, that ACN is a cut above in regards to the culture and the environment that we create to help foster growth for people that participate in that environment. And that's simply because we sat in your chairs for so long before we founded this company. See, we were IBOs. I was in a direct selling company for 9.5 years before we founded ACN. And so I know what it's like to want to build a business. I know what it's like to want to attract people to your business, to want to recruit good quality people. I know what it's like to bring people into the environment and want to foster their growth. That's really second nature to me. But I also know how badly some of you on this line want ACN to work, and some of you on this line need ACN to work. And the reason why I know intimately how some of you are feeling is because I had those same sentiments and feelings for years. I wanted my business to grow. I wanted it to prosper. I wanted it to flourish because I wanted to be successful, just like some of you on this line, or most of you, if not all of you, you want to be successful. Otherwise, you would not be on this line. And so because we know how badly some of you want it and some of you need it, we don't second guess and we don't cut corners in regards to wanting to provide that environment for you to grow your business. And that's what we've done for 30 plus years. And so we have a lot of experience. We have a lot of people that have gone before you, that have plugged into our environment, not knowing what they were doing, questioned everything about them as to whether or not they had what it takes to win, but they brought their coachability spirit into the environment, and the environment poured into them, poured into the emptiness of the people that showed up, and they walked out of the environment with nothing but goodness filled into their spirit, so that they go back to their respective marketplaces loaded for bear, where they were relentless and they were bulletproof because of their belief in the ACN opportunity. Now listen to me. I came here for a purpose today. Al wanted me to be on this call here today. And listen, I just want you to know that I don't show up for calls unprepared. And here's what I do for every event that I do. I don't care if it's an Elevate event, an Emerge event, a Zoom call, a conference call, it doesn't matter. I want to know the people that are going to be present on the call. And the only way for me to know who's going to be on, not just by name, I want to see what results you've been getting over the last 60 or 90 days. I just don't go back 30 days. I go back 60 and 90 days. And so, Al, I predominantly know what your organization's been doing over the last 90 days. I know the result that they're getting. I know what their recruiting numbers are, their customer acquisition numbers, their retention, their qualifications. And here's what I do know about this group, like many other groups. If I were to ask this question, it's like a rhetorical question, I know the answer. How many of you feel that you would have loved to have been further along in your ACN careers right now than you thought that you would be at this time? Wouldn't you? Yeah. Hey, you want to know something? Me too. Me too. I want to be further along too. That's because we're all growth minded. We always want more. We always want to do better. We all in a better position to help the people that we know and love. I get it. I understand it. The question that I have for you today, 12 days in advance of Orlando, is this. Are you seriously willing to pay the price to get what you want to get out of ACN? Are you willing to sacrifice the things that you need to sacrifice in order for you to get out of what you want to get out of ACN? Because I'm here to tell you this. There's a huge difference between believing in ACN and believing in the opportunity of ACN. Now, some of you are kind of, I see your faces. You're kind of looking at me puzzled. The reason why there's a big difference between those two is because of this. I can't tell you how many conversations I have with people, and they tell me how much they love the co-founders, how much they love ACN, how much they love the environment of ACN. They love the camaraderie of ACN. They love the love that's given in doses at an ACN event. They love that feeling. So they have full belief in the company. And then when they come to me and tell me all those things, I ask them one question. Do you have the same belief that you have in the company, in the opportunity that the company presents? Because that's where the rubber meets the road. And if you don't have faith and belief in the opportunity, I'm telling you, there's going to be a gap in what you do. There's going to be a drastic gap with what you want to where you're at today. And we have to figure out a way how to close that gap. And here's one of my favorite sayings that I say to closed door sessions in leadership. Sometimes your experience can cloud your vision. See, sometimes your experience will cloud the big picture vision that you once had for ACN, because you now know that everybody doesn't make it. You now know that some people quit. You now know that some of your best people get tired And then you wonder whether or not you have what it takes to keep on keeping on. And then you start questioning whether or not the opportunity of ACN is real. I'm telling you, that's the progression of a mind going in the wrong direction, because you're looking at your past experiences of people that have gotten tired and quit, not because of you, not because of the opportunity. It was because of who? Them. Do you have any idea how many people joined ACN and quit over the last 30 years? I have no idea what that number is. And so my question, just to level set with you, is this. What would my life be like? What would Greg Provenzano's be like in 2023 if I felt responsible for everyone's success that joined ACN? Do you have any idea? My life would be a tragedy if I put that burden on myself of being responsible for everyone's success that joins ACN. And the same thing holds true for you. You should not feel responsible for anybody's success. Do you know who you're responsible for? You. You know who I'm responsible for? Me. I'm responsible for my actions. I'm responsible for my diligence. I'm responsible for my discipline. And if I can be the best that I can be every day, where I put my head down on the pillow and I look at the previous 24 hours and I say, Provenzano, you did good. I'm going to put my head down and I'm going to sleep well. But if I knew that I could do more, I'm going to be restless. Because if you know that you can do more and you put your head down on your pillow, all that you're doing is delaying what you want to get out of ACN in the ACN opportunity. So why am I telling you this? Why did I start off this call a little bit non-traditionally and trying to get into your head and into your face? Because I want to capture your attention right now. I don't want this just to be another conference call. I don't want this just to be another Zoom call. I don't want the next 12 days to come and go and you wish you had more people in Orlando. I don't want that to happen for you. So there's some things that I want to tell you. Alan, I hope that this is okay to get to do this on this call. But there's some things that are on my heart that I want to tell you that will help you to get what you want to get out of ACN. And not, if I ask that question of, man, do you wish that you were further along? If I ask that question 5 years from now, I don't want you to answer that to answer that question yes. I want you to say, you know what? I'm moving in the direction that I set my life for. I may not be where I want to be ultimately, but I'm so much more closer because I put stuff in motion now. How many of you want to have that conversation 5 years from now? Yes. So I'm going to ask you another rhetorical question. How many of you on this line want to become a senior vice president? Do you really want to become an SVP? Do you want to be an SVP? Yeah. And just like you know as well as I do, everybody that I know would love to become an SVP. Here's what I want you to write down. For me to be an SVP, I must do what SVPs do in advance of becoming an SVP. You got to put those habits in place in advance of you becoming an SVP. I want you to write this down as well. Success has no respecter of persons. See, here at ACN, I don't know how many of you know me very well. Some I see some very familiar faces on the line, but some of you don't know me very well. And here's what you need to know about me if Al Thomas hasn't told you this already. I will never tell you anything. I won't waste my time to tell you something that I know would not be in your best interest and that I fully don't believe. I just won't do it. It isn't worth it to me. It isn't worth it to me to tell you things that are going to get you inflated in your mind and not result in a lifestyle that you want to have for you and your family. It's just not worth it to me. Does that make sense to you? So what I'm telling you, listen closely. ACN is a place, maybe for the very first time, that you can't point your finger at anyone or anything that is causing you not to win. I don't care. I don't care where you've come from. I don't care what your education is. I don't care what your skin color is. I don't care what your religious beliefs are. I don't care where you grew up. None of that matters. You know why? The computer promotes you. If you satisfy minimum requirements at ACN, the computer promotes. Isn't that reassuring to you? You can't tell me that you don't have the proper education. None of that matters here. I don't care. I graduated 12th grade Detroit public schools. I have a year and a half of college. I ran out of money. I had to leave. If somebody took a look at Greg Provenzano's resume, if I had to put a resume together for a job application, I promise you the majority of institutions would look at Greg Provenzano's resume, look at the lack of education that I have, and they would just crumple it up and throw it in the garbage. But they have no idea what's on the inside. Just like people don't know what's on the inside of each and every one of you. Do you understand you have greatness inside of you? You have something inside of you that just you're listen, I know you're just eaten up with winning. You're eaten up with wanting to be somebody at ACN. You're eaten up with wanting to be successful within this company. I know it, otherwise you wouldn't be on this call. But I'm telling you, like I just mentioned earlier, success has no respecter of persons. Having a big vision is not enough. It's essential, but it's not enough. You have to combine vision with venture. You just can't look at the staircase. You got to take one step and put it in front of the other to get to the top. You just can't stand at the bottom and say, oh, that looks good up there. I wish I could be up there. No, that's not how it works. One step in front of the other for however long it takes. Listen, folks, you've heard me say this before if you've been in front of me. When you're young, you're a victim of your circumstances. You can't do anything about the cards that each of you have been dealt. And I can go into, my personal story of how I grew up. I'm not going to waste time to do that. But you can't do anything about the cards that you were dealt as a child. But as an adult, you are no longer a victim of your circumstances, folks. You're just not. You are a product of your disciplines and your decisions that you make every single day. So most of you raise your hand when I ask you the question, how, would you like to be further along in your ACN career than you are today? Yes, of course. But you know what the reality is? You are a product of your disciplines and decisions that you've made every single day up to this point. And I know that some of you have to step up your game. You know it, and I know it. Can I offer you an exercise? Can I just give you what I know that works? I'm going to tell you 4 things. You got to be relentless in your pursuit. What does relentless means? That's when you feel like it and when you don't, when you're excited and when you're not. You got to be relentless. See, being relentless in your pursuit, it will get you to where you want to be a lot faster than if you weren't relentless. I know this is common sense, and I know it makes sense to you. And I'm probably not going to tell you anything new, but maybe you need to write it down and ask yourself this question: am I doing what he just said that I should be doing? Let this be a check and balance for you. Being relentless will get you there. The second thing is you got to be consistent. Being consistent in your effort, when you get there, will keep you there. But if there's no relentless activity, you'll never get there. And if you're not consistent in your activity, you're definitely not going to stay there. You're going to fall behind. Either you're growing or you're dying. There's no in between. And the third thing, this is probably one of the most important things, is being grateful will increase what's there. So you got to be relentless, number one, because relentless activity will get you there. Consistent activity will keep you there, and being grateful will increase what's already there. Maybe right now, listen, folks, maybe today, even though you're not where you want to be, maybe today's the day to start being grateful for where you're at, because where you're at is not where you were. My youngest daughter, Marina, a couple months ago, got a hold of my wife, Sherry, and I, and she, for a project that she was going to do, she's a counselor, she asked us each to write down our 50 favorite things that are in our life. 50 favorite things. And I won't bore you with my list, but it was an exercise that was just awesome, because it makes you take stock of how the Lord has blessed you up until this point. Because sometimes, you know what? Sometimes we forget. Sometimes we take for granted the very breath that we are now taking. Sometimes we take for granted being able to get out of our bed and walk to the bathroom and get out of a warm bed and have a roof over our head and, brush our teeth with clean water and toothpaste. And we forget. We forget. And here's what I've come to know. When I made that list, I said, oh my goodness, there are so many things that I take for granted. When you go to a doctor and you get blood work done and they give you that report, that's the status of the decisions that you've made over the last 6 months or 12 months. That'll show you if you're eating too many donuts. That'll show you if you're not getting enough exercise, if you're not eating enough protein, if you're not getting enough supplementation. That's your health scorecard. I will challenge you to keep an ACN scorecard, folks, because the longer you go and you don't take ACN blood work and you don't see exactly where you're at based upon how relentless or lack thereof of your activity, all you're doing is you're delaying a problem. You're pushing ahead what you want to really get done at ACN. So what is that for you? What does it look like for you? I don't know. I don't know what you have to do. All I know is you have to do something. You have to do more than what you're doing in order to get more than what you have. That's a fact. I do know that. I don't know what that is. Only you know what that is. I just see the results of what you're doing or not doing based upon the reports that I looked at before the Zoom call. So here's the question that I have to ask you. This is the bottom line question of everything. What would need to happen for you to tell me 6 months from now that these were the best 6 months of your ACN career? What would have to happen for you to tell me 6 months from now that the past 6 months were the best 6 months of your ACN career? And can you set that in motion? Interesting question. So why am I on this call? I'm on this call for two purposes. Number one is I wanted to make sure that this time that we're able to spend together, however long we've been spending it on this call, is a time of reflection. It's a time of accountability. It's a time of slapping yourself around a little bit and waking yourself up. Maybe some of you need an oxygen mask right now, and you need to take a deep breath. You need to fill your lungs with fresh oxygen and hold that in and expand your lungs, and where you just exhale out all the negativity, all the things that you don't want or like, and it's no longer a part of your life, and you're going to start fresh today. I want it to be that type of call. And the second reason I'm on this call is to talk to you about Orlando. Now, I've asked you a few rhetorical questions, one of them being, how many of you would like to be an SVP? And I know that everybody wants to be an SVP. But look, can I just tell you something? Don't tell me, don't tell Al, don't tell your upline, don't tell your spouse, don't tell your friends that you're going to become a senior vice president at ACN and you don't show up to an Elevate event so that we can pour into you so that you have a better chance of becoming a senior vice president. And I'm not on this call to beg you. I'm not on this call to bug you. Al, I hope this is okay. To be quite frank with you, everyone, I don't care if you don't show up to Orlando. Look, I want you there. I think you need to be there, but I'm not going to cry if you're not there. I'm not going to shut down the event because you don't show up, because people depend on the environment. Do you know that all the ask Al Thomas how many Elevate events he's missed over his ACN career? Ask any top leader, none. Ask any top leader how many events. So if that's what all the big leaders have done, don't you think that you should do the same thing? Listen, I already know you know this. But here, I want to take it one step further. Can I do that? Sometimes it isn't showing up to the event is all that matters. But showing up to the event with high expectations will matter. See, some of you are just showing up to the event because you love the events. You love hanging out, high-fiving, giving hugs, taking pictures. You love seeing people you haven't seen in 3 or 4 months. It's a good time. But is that all you expect to get out of an ACN event? Is that where your expectations are? I would encourage you to raise the bar of expectation of what you want to get out of Elevate Orlando on October 21 and 22. I would tell you to raise that bar of expectation and go there with such high anticipation about receiving a nugget, or receiving a word of affirmation, receiving a word of confirmation, receiving some encouragement that you so vitally need right now. And then even one step further than that, maybe you can be an encouragement to somebody else that's going to show up to Elevate. Maybe that's your purpose. whatever the purpose is, I'm telling you, there's a reason for you to make plans to go to Orlando. And not only for you to make plans to go to Orlando, because listen, this is the last event of 2023, the last big event of our 30th year anniversary. You listen, all of you know this. You can't be in business for 30 years without doing something right. Wouldn't you agree with that? I'm not telling you that we're perfect. Every one of you that's been around ACN for a while, you know that we're not perfect. I'm probably making a mistake with you right now as I'm talking to you. We are not perfect, but our heart is in the right place to provide an environment for you to win. Because if you win, we all win together. That's been our philosophy since the very first day, and it's a continue to be our philosophy 30 years into the making. So my encouragement to you is this. For the next 12 days, you actually don't even have 12 days because you got to take a day to get there. You got 11 days. You got 11 days to get as many of your people in front of us as possible. All you're doing is you're employing us. You're employing me. You're employing the rest of the co-founders. You're employing all the top leaders to pour into you and pour into everyone in your organization. What value does that have? I'm telling you, it's priceless. And just like breath, just like getting out of bed and being able to walk and see and go to the bathroom and brush your teeth in the morning and all the little things that we should not take for granted, I'm telling you, do not take for granted what Orlando can do for your ACN business and your lives. We are going to pour everything we can into you for 2 solid days, Saturday and Sunday. And here's my promise, is that anyone that goes to Orlando, you're going to go back home a different person. You're going to be better than you've ever been. You're going to have more vision than you've ever had. We're going to encourage you to continue to take those steps in relentless pursuit of your goals and activities that you need in order to be successful at ACN. That's my promise to you. So if that's my promise to you, if I know that that is going to take place, why would you ever shortchange and shortcut any one of your people from being at the event? And those of you that are around the world, I'm telling you, I wish that you could be with us in Orlando, but depending upon how registrations go, we may live stream it. But if you can connect on live stream, if we have that availability, I would encourage you to do that. I would encourage you to have as many of your people join on live stream as well, because we are going to pour into people like never before, and we are going to make a difference in people's lives. I promise you that. So, Al, I'm going to give this call back to you, buddy. I hope that what I've given you and your organization was beneficial. I hope you internalized it and that it'll make a difference in your lives. That was my hope and prayer for today's Zoom call. Al, thanks for the time.
All right. Thank you. Don't go nowhere yet. I got a couple of questions. Matter of fact, you answered most of them. I took a poll amongst my leaders to get some questions, the top 7 questions, and boy, howdy, you've answered 90, almost all of them. Question number 1, what advice would you give to a seasoned IBO that has been stuck in the same position?
Buddy, I listen. Here. Just let me ask you. I got to ask you this question before I answer that question. How tough can I be on these people? Because listen, if
they're seasoned, so be very tough. Be very tough. They're seasoned. They're stuck. So they've been around a year, 2 or 3 or 4 or 5, 6,
yeah.
Some 8 or 9 years, still stuck in that same position after 8 or 9 years. Yeah. Stuck. So be real honest and just take the gloves off. Give it to them. They're stuck. Get them unstuck, sir.
Listen, hey, here's the deal. I want you to forget right now that Greg Provenzano was the president of ACN. Can you do that? I want you to act like we're friends. And I'm in my home office right now, and I got a couple chairs, on the other side of my desk. And I want you to pretend that you're sitting in that chair right now. And we're having a conversation. And in this conversation, you just said, Greg, listen, I've been around ACN for months. I've been around ACN for years. And it just isn't happening for me. I don't know. I don't know if ACN's for me or not. I don't know if I can continue to do what I'm doing. And here's the way that I would respond to you. And this is exactly what I would do. I would sit up in my chair and I would look at you directly in your eyes. And here's what I would say. You think you want what you described to me, but I'm telling you, you don't want it. You don't want it bad enough. And I'm going to tell you why. I'm going to tell you why. This is going to make a lot of sense to you. We only do what's most important for us to do at any given moment in time. That's a fact. I'm going to tell you, I'll prove with you, okay? Why are you all on this call? Can you open up? Can they open up the lines? Why are you all on this call right now?
We want to be better.
Learning to grow.
Want to grow.
Encouragement.
And encouragement.
Succeed.
All good. All
To be
good.
held accountable.
To believe.
Can I tell you why you're on this call?
Yeah, go ahead.
Because you wanted to be on this call. If you didn't want to be on this call, if I didn't want to be on this call, there's other things in my life that I could be doing right now. There's other things in your life that you could be doing right now. The reason why we're on this call, listen, is because you saw more benefit being on this call than doing something else. Otherwise, you would what? Be doing something else. But at the same time, if there was a call scheduled at 12 o'clock Eastern time, 9 o'clock Pacific, and you had it on your calendar to be on this call, but one of your children woke up and they had bad abdominal pains and they had to go to urgent care, how many of you know your child has now taken precedence over an important call that you deem to be important? Yes or no? Yes. You always do what's most important. And so listen. The reason why you're stuck, those of you that are stuck, is because other things are more important than your ACN business. Now you can give any excuse you want to give. But I'm telling you, if ACN is priority for you, if you truly want to become a senior vice president, then the activities required of you to become a senior vice president will be the most important thing for you to do every single day, relentlessly, with consistency. But don't tell me you want to become a senior vice president and not follow through with the activities of becoming a senior vice president, because you're lying to me, you're lying to your family, and most importantly, you're lying to yourselves. That's why you're stuck. And listen, I hope this ain't too tough, Al. It would be different. Listen, it would be totally different if people in ACN were not winning. It would be different if nobody was making money. It would be different if nobody was getting promoted. But that's not the case. There are people winning, people making money, people getting promoted. So if it happens to them, can it happen for you? Why is it happening for them and not happening for you? You know why? ACN is a priority for them, and it's not a priority for you. See, some of you got to get around to doing the activity that's required of you to be successful. Being on this call is not one of those. This is not going to help build your business. It'll help build you. This will help build your vision, help build your mindset, but this is not going to help build your business. This is sharpening the axe time. But when your axe is sharp, you got to go out and go cut a tree. You can't just look at the tree and have a sharp axe and don't get around to doing anything. So either ACN has become a priority and you're going to get something done, or it will remain a lesser priority. And then we'll be talking 5 years from now about you becoming a senior vice president, when in fact you should have been there 3 years prior.
I can relate to that, Mr. Greg Provenzano. I remember, I'll never forget, I was backstage with you coming off before I went on stage or got off stage in Baltimore, Maryland, maybe 10, 12 years ago. And it was just you and I backstage, and we sat down and you looked me in the eye and you said, Al Thomas, when are you going to draw the line in the sand and step over it? How long are you going to be a regional vice president? And I never, and it ticked me off to a point. It's like, Al Thomas, you got to go do what you got to, and from that moment, 6 months later, I worked through the holidays, through Thanksgiving, through Christmas and New Year's, and made it in the end of January. So I walked in February 2009 in San Diego because of that talk. You had talked to me and I talked to myself. What are you doing now, Thomas? How bad do you want it? You got to walk a little and work a little harder. You got to go get it, make it happen. And that's what's very important, sir. I really thank you for that.
Yes.
And folks, that's what he's talking about. You have to make that decision and being RD forever and ever, or whatever position you're at, get unstuck. Next question. I got two more here before we let you go, sir. Next question is, give us a vision of where ACN is going in the future.
Well, I mean, look, we've been around for 30 years, and I just firmly believe that all we've done in 30 years is just lay a foundation for our company. I am now 63 years old. I was 32 years old when we started ACN, and I can't believe how much time has passed and to see what we've accomplished. But to feel the way that we feel, and I say we, myself, Mike Kupas, Tony Kupas, Robert, the executive team, man, we have energy, man. We have, I mean, I can't imagine. I got some of my friends that ask me, Greg, why don't you just retire? Why do you work so hard? Why do you do what you do? And I keep telling them, I said, people that retire have to get away from something. Why would you ever want to get away from this? Why would you want to get away from doing a Zoom call and pouring into people's lives? Why would I ever want to stop doing this? I don't want to golf that much. I don't want to boat that much. I don't want to go on vacation that much. I want to make a difference for as long as the good Lord allows me to make a difference. And ACN happens to be our vehicle. And so, Al, we're 30 years in the making, man. And I truly believe that we have grown up. We have grown up and we're mature, and we have best practices. And when we condense all of those best practices, and we're in the process right now of doing all this stuff behind the scenes, ACN is going to explode even further than what we've done over the last 30 years. I believe with everything that's in me that we're going to be a multi-billion-dollar company. I believe it with everything that's in me. And listen, the only way, this is good news for all of you, the only way that we can become a multi-billion-dollar company is if we teach and train encourage you and provide an environment for you to build your multi-million-dollar companies within this company. In fact, here's what I can tell you. Here's how big my vision is for this company. Al, listen. There's some people on this line that 10 years from now, you ought to write this down. 10 years from now, I promise you, somebody on this line will be as big as ACN is in 2023. Somebody on this line is going to be as big as the entire company is in 2033 because of what you set in motion in 2023. How would you like to override an entire ACN? Yes, yes, yes. That's what we're talking about right now. That's how big my vision is for this company.
Wonderful. Last question. What does it take to win? Your top things, top 3 things of what does it take to win big in ACN? Your top 3. And this will be our last question.
Here's the first thing. Now I'm talking about winning long-term, not short-term. Yes?
Oh, always long-term. Always long-term, sir.
Because long-term, there's a whole different set of values than what I'm going to map out for you. You ready? Number 1, you got to be a good person. Al, I don't believe that somebody that has a bad heart can win long-term. Now, I've associated with people that don't have good hearts that win big short-term. But I promise you, in my experience in life and in business, it always catches up to them. I believe you have to be a good person. I also believe that in order to have long-term success, that you have to be a part of something that's bigger than you. You can't just focus on your own success. You can't just focus on what's best for you and your family. You always got to have a big picture vision of what you're trying to accomplish and let the draft of that vision carry you and your family to where you want to go. But if you are the only focus, I promise you, you're always going to make the wrong decisions. I promise you, you're not going to be able to create the right environment. I promise you, you're not going to treat people well enough that they're going to be attracted to you to stay around you long term. So you got to be a good person. You got to have a big picture vision. You got to be relentless in your pursuit. Here, write this down. This is one of my favorite sayings. Pursuit is proof of your true desire. What you pursue is truly what you desire. So you got to relentlessly pursue those things that you desire at ACN. And you got to do it on a consistent basis. I've seen plenty of people, as you as well, Al, and a lot of the other leaders are on the line. You've seen people get excited for 1 or 2 weeks or 1 or 2 months or maybe a year or two, but then that excitement drops off and they expect to win. That's not how it works. So you got to be excited before the excitement really happens to you. That's how you attract people. See, we were just as excited 30 years ago, Al, that we are today, just as. And we had nothing 30 years ago. We had nothing but hope and opportunity and no track record, nobody making money, no leaders. There was no RVPs, no one but us. But we had belief in the vision. We had a big picture vision, something that was bigger than us. We always made decisions that were had a bigger thought or a bigger idea than just the co-founders. We always put other people's interests above our own. You can't do that unless you're a good person. You can't do it. Your personality won't allow you to do it. You'll get wealthy at everybody else's expense, and that's not how you win long term. You can win short term that way. Long term, it isn't going to work. And we've always been long term thinkers, and that's the way that we taught and trained and provided an environment. That's what we're going to be doing in Orlando in a big way.